What's up, Internet? This is Rambling Josh, and you're watching another episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy Tactics. I have finally changed my Liza into the class that I wanted. After getting Oracle level 2, that unlocks the Mediator job class. And they have the Talk skill. What exactly that does, I'll explain in a moment. For the time being, we want to head to Goog, but to get there, we have to first cross through the Zigolis Swamp. So let's do that. Let's see. I think I'm gonna position my whole party over on this side. Just kind of keep them together. That's generally the best way to go about things. Not that it particularly matters. I don't think this is a very hard fight. Although I think this one technically counts as just like a random battle. Like, it's not a scripted battle, I don't think, with like specific enemies and stuff. I'm pretty sure they're going to be like the same level as your characters are. And stuff. There's also lots of undead enemies, which can be very handy for Mustadio's Seal Evil ability. Or if you have like potions and stuff, you can use those on them. This is a rare enemy to find anywhere. I might have to try and poach him. If I actually have poach on my knight still. I do. Secret hunt, rather. Okay. One more cheer up on Ramza, and that should cap out his permanent brave level. Now the big thing to consider about this fight is that if you step into the water and you stay there at the end of your turn, then you will be poisoned. Which isn't the end of the world, but it's kind of annoying, I suppose. Go, Mustadio! Shoot stuff in the face! Now, the Mediator's Talk skill is kind of an interesting ability. Basically it works on... It does a whole bunch of stuff, but it works on kind of manipulating your enemies. You can use Invitation and Persuade to invite enemy humanoids and monsters to your army permanently. Praise and Threaten affect your brave level, much like Cheer Up does, except it's flat out worse because it's got a smaller range and it's not guaranteed to hit, but it's there. Preach and Solution affect your faith, and then there's a bunch of other stuff that does random stuff that can be useful. But the biggest thing I'm interested in the moment is Preach and Solution. Because, well, I mean, I don't actually know those yet, but when I do learn them, they will be what I'm interested in. For now, I'm going to use Praise to kind of speed up, or at least try to speed up the brave gaining of my party. Now, I've never really explained what exactly Faith does, so now is a good as any time to do it. Basically, Faith works as kind of the counterpoint to Brave. Brave affects a lot of physical things, whereas Faith is kind of the be-all stat of magic, so to speak. But it's a little bit simpler than Brave, but it's less like black and white. Because with Brave, it's basically just flat out better to have more of it, outside of Move Find Item, which is just a really stupid exception to the rule. But with Faith, there's legitimate reasons to not want a high Faith stat. Basically the way it works is your Faith determines how, it's like your affinity to magic. But it works both ways. So more Faith will mean that you do more damage with magic, and it'll mean that you are more capable of landing like buffs and debuffs on your allies and enemies and stuff, but also works on the receiving end. So if you have a high amount of faith, you will take more damage, you'll be more capable of being debuffed, it's more likely that a buff will land on you, it's more likely, or you'll be healed more by healing spells, etc, etc, etc. So it's, you know, it goes both ways, because if you have a lot of faith, I mean, you're going to be really good at doing magic, which can be good for dealing damage and receiving buffs and heals and stuff, but it also means that you're going to take a lot of damage from enemy spells as well, which is not the greatest thing in the world. So having super high faith is not necessarily a good thing, because, you know, taking lots of damage from magic can be somewhat problematic. I find that generally a good amount of faith to be at, if you're actually aiming to have high faith for, is about 70. Which is what Ram's default faith is at. Any higher than that, I personally don't like going higher than that, just because of the possible repercussions. But for non-casters, like say my knight or my thief there, I generally don't really care about their faith, so I'm not going to touch it. And faith works much the same way as brave does, in that any effect that will increase your faith, it will increase your faith by a certain amount during the battle, but a certain amount of faith will also be permanent gain or loss. And much like bravery, there's also like other conditions tied to it. Namely, if you have a very low, I think it's less than 5 permanent brave, you will run away and leave the party permanently. Well, if you have more than, I think it's 94 permanent faith, then you will leave the party permanently in much the same way. You go on like a religious crusade or something. So just another reason why you don't want to have a ridiculously high brave stat. And by brave, of course, I mean faith. So eventually, when I unlock the preach, or was it preach and solution? That's Oracle, not Mediator. Yeah, preach and solution. What I'm gonna do is, my wizard has 73 faith, which is just slightly higher than my supposed ideal, but I'm probably just gonna leave that alone. But what I'm going to do is increase the faith of Liza, who's my current mediator. Just because she's going to eventually be learning various magic things, and I kind of want to increase her ability to use those effectively. If nothing else, increasing her faith will increase her ability to land other talk skill abilities. Because as you can see, right now they only have a 54% chance of landing, which is not ideal. And I'm fairly certain that increasing faith will increase that hit chance. Mouse a fairly odd bit of lag. As was that. Are you done now? Okay. Now this guy isn't particularly dangerous, but because they're rare, I am going to try to poach him with my knight, using the secret hunt ability. I don't think I've ever actually explained what exactly that does, so I suppose I should do that now. Basically, if you beat a monster, you can take it to a fur shop. If you get the last kill on an enemy, or the last hit, the killing shot on an oh shoot. The water here is too deep to actually hit him. If you get the last hit on an enemy, then you can collect their hide and bring it to a skin shop, a fur shop in trade cities, and you can trade for items. Usually, there's every monster that you kill has a different corresponding item. I think the way it works is that there's a rare item and a common item, much the way it works with move find item, except I don't think it's affected by Brave at all. And some of the poached items can be quite good. It kind of depends on how rare and how powerful the enemy is. And when I say powerful, I don't mean like their actual stats. I mean the way like certain enemies are stronger than others just by default. And these things are pretty rare. I can't think off the top of my head what they can give you when you poach them, but whatever it is, it's probably good. So I want to try and do that. So I'm just kind of trying to block him out. And let Tim catch up to him. Almost to Goog. And yeah, that fight's nothing really special. I guess the one thing I haven't mentioned about Undead is that when their death counter counts down to 0, they actually have a chance of coming back to life because they're kind of undead, rather than just turning into a crystal like normal enemies would. So I got a bit of extra time, so let's take a look at my job points stuff. Almost got enough for 2 swords, and equip armor. He already knows equip armor. Let's teach him armor break. Armor break can be useful because armor tends to have a lot of health on it, so you can do a good chunk of what I like to call permanent damage, because it like reduces their max health rather than their current health, so it's damage that can't be healed. Nothing from my wizard. I'm trying to teach him Ice 4, but unfortunately that's rather costly. For my thief, I learned steel weapon, steel accessory, steel heart. So all I'm looking for now is move +2, and then I'm going to turn her back into an archer. For the mediator, I don't have a whole lot to learn. Unfortunately, level 2 in a job class, you don't get a whole lot of JP, and I'm using throw item instead of gain JP up because she's my healer still, and I want her to be able to heal from a distance. For too long, I should probably change this guy into a class other than Knight, just because Knights don't really have all that many particularly good abilities. Lancer is a good alternative, so I might do that soon. But anyways, that's about it for today on Let's Play Final Fantasy Tactics. Catch you later.